Hey, my name is Ryan with Oak Harbor Web Designs, and I got this thing in front of me now. This is a Butte. So I started working with a new designer, and we're doing a clothing manufacturer who does high-end clothes. And this is a special one, so we're doing 4 pages. It's not my templated pages anymore because they needed more unique branding. So this just creates more work, and this is what we're going to be building today. We're going to build an entire freaking website today instead of just my usual home pages. So if this looks like something you're curious about seeing how I'd build it, then this is the one for you. So we got our home. This is our about, and all of these photos are all stock for now. This is, I think, this is going to cause me the most problems today. So this will be very interesting to figure out how we're going to do this and make it responsive. And this is the process by which they make their stuff, and then we got a little contact page here. Excuse me. With we got a unique form here. We got our frequently asked questions. So yeah, we're gonna make this. This is gonna take a little time, but yeah, this will be a great learning experience. We'll see how fast I can burn through this. So right away, let's look at our code. So what's happening is I downloaded my starter template, and I removed everything that I'm not using. So the starter template that I use is linked in the description. But basically, I'm just starting with a navbar now. I'm doing the footer. I removed the footer. I removed the landing page. And I just dumped in the logo here, which I obviously have to fix. But this is my starter template, which is my Caselli painting starter template. This is what I typically start with, right? But I don't need this design. I don't need this design. So we're just taking the navbar, because why build a navbar when you already have one? Don't repeat yourself. Don't waste your time on things you've already done. So we're going to start with just a navbar. And right here's our HTML. Our CSS is right here with nothing in it right now for the less. And what I like to do is I group all of my CSS together by their media queries like this. So I got my mobile, tablet, small desktop, large desktop. And what's cool is, like, yeah, I have a 0 min width for mobile, which is kind of redundant. You don't need it, but I use it so that I can collapse them, and I can just scroll up and down and see the different sections, and it just makes it more organized. It doesn't matter. This does absolutely nothing for performance. Basically, it's just it's here for a formatting thing for me, so I can just go up and down my document. It looks all neat over here. So let's get started. I think number one, I gotta get my my koala, because I'm using less today. So I'm gonna put this off screen for you, so you don't have to see any of this nonsense. I gotta search for it here. Let's see, desktop, web, and Neotex. There we go. So what this does, I hit Neotex. I have all of these less files. Local.less, auto prefix, compile. So when I write my less CSS code, Koala will automatically compile it and add the browser prefixes for me, and it will create the local.css file for me, which is what the actual browser will read. I use less for the nesting capabilities and for the calculation capabilities. It just makes working a heck of a lot faster. So now that we got our koala running, let's look at this. So let's look at how we're going to structure this HTML. Right away, let me see if I can make this bigger. Oops. Okay, so I need a container, and I think I'm going to make this this will be on the section. So what we're going to do, all of my code starts with a section tag, unless it does not have a heading. So like this section down here, this will be its own section, but it's not going to be in a section tag because there's no heading. So it'll just be in a regular div. And then we're going to do ID equals landing. And I am going to start, because we got these are overlapping. So what this tells me is this image is going to have to be absolutely positioned because it has to break the normal flow of the document, which is overlapping another element. So this image will be absolutely placed inside the container. So we're going to make a container to contain everything. Because that's basically going to be this, it'll start here and it'll end here. So this will be nudged over here to the right. This will be nudged to the left. We got our big H1 here. Let's take that. Cool. And then we got our H2, which is this. Cool. And then I use Alt Z. It breaks all your HTML to fit within the screen. Like, see how it's like going off to the side here? That's hard to work with. Alt Z squeezes everything in here for you. And then we got our call to action button. So inside here, we're going to have our a.button solid. And this button solid is a class that I have in my pre-built CSS file. So that it styles the button for me. It basically looks like this already. I just got to change like the height, font size, and stuff. So we got that. And inside this container, because I want to group it together. Let me think. Because normally, if I wanted to flexbox these guys, having this to the left and this to the right, I'd have to wrap this in its own div so that that div can be flexed, right? Because these are all individual elements, and if I tried flexboxing this, they would all be moving independently instead of inside of a container where they all move as a group. So normally I would do flex justify content space between, and this would put this content over here, and this would float this over here. But because this is going to be absolutely positioned, I don't think I need a container here. And my goal when I'm working is to use as few divs as possible, the cleanest markup possible. So we're not going to wrap this in a container. So right now I just need this image. I'm wondering how I want to do this on mobile. So if I'm looking at this on mobile, am I gonna have a hero image? Is there enough room? I think honestly, mobile will just be this, and maybe I'll have this guy, because I'll have this guy, but I don't see where this. I don't think this can fit on mobile. So I'm just going to use an image tag instead of my picture element, and you'll find out why I want to use picture element in a second. So we got our source images. This is going to be landing, and empty alt for now because these images are going to change. And it is 660 by 797. So width is 660, height is 797. We got to add these to all of them, and all of your images need decoding async. This helps loading. All of your images should have this, but we're not lazy loading this one because it is above the fold, meaning like where the landing section is. When like this, let's say this is the bottom of the computer screen. This is in here. This is being shown directly, so we don't lazy load images that need to be seen on screen on load. So we're not lazy loading that. And let's give it a class. So we can target it. Class equals landing image. Cool. And we're going to copy and paste this. Whoops. And we're going to do the circle squares. That's a circle text. And that's more decorative. Start your line. Start your line. because this has text, but it's an SVG image, I'm going to add an ARIA label of start your line. So when a screen reader runs over this, it'll say start your line. It'll say exactly what this says. But you know what? Do we even need it? Oops. It's like a supplemental graphic image. So do we need? Yeah, I'm just going to leave it in there because it is text. I'm going to leave that in there. And that is 163. Decoding async, starting line, alt, start your line graph. Okay, so we got these now, and I'm gonna make this. I don't need to make a div for this because I'm gonna use a pseudo element. That's another way that I can remove some markup from here. Instead of adding another div to make this rectangle, I'm just gonna do a pseudo element on the landing, and you'll see how that works. So that section's done, and now let's do another one. So this is going to be logos. Another common thing to do with these things. So we're not going to use this. We're going to do a div of logos. We're using a div and not the section element, not the section tag, because there's no headings. So we don't do that. And so the question is, do I want them to be a link? And I don't think so, because my goal is to keep you on the website. I want you to leave it. I want you to stay on it. You don't need to go. Why do you need to go to their website to see who they are? It's just, if you know who they are, you know who they are. And I don't think we want to link because we want to keep people on the page. So we're just going to straight up keep them as images. Okay, so we can get rid of this ARIA label. And this is where things get fun now. I have to do this. Okay, logo 1. Do this over and over again. I'm going to remove this. Whoops, not the whole thing. Remove this. I'm going to copy and paste this to everything I want. So I'm going to remove this one really quick. And I'm going to remove this alt. Well, actually, I should say logo, whatever. So copy and paste this. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm just going to click in here, do 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, we got those, and we have to do our heights and widths. So it's 122, and that's why I said this was fun. We have to do all this nonsense. 122.30. So bear with me while I do the mundane. It's 106, 110. Or 101.24. This is part of the job. 147. 24. 93.69. I mean, feel free to skip through some of this. This is not, I mean, you don't need to watch me do everything. 164 and 137. Okay, and that section's done. Now let's just grab this code again. Let's copy and paste. And this is going to be manufacturer. Get rid of this. Okay, so this is our manufacturer distributed section. And so I'm looking at this one. Okay, I got my body. Cool. I didn't see a. Wait, am I missing a main? A main. Yeah, I missed my main tag. Come here. And I thought I was missing something. There we go. So everything that I do on the main, the main gist of the website is within a main tag. So and this is just how I structure all of my websites. I'll just copy and paste this a few times. And I like to put these in my comments in my site so that it's easy to go up and down. And look how neat and organized this is. I can see exactly what is what and where and why. So we got our manufacturer, and I'm looking at this, and I see Flexbox. I see this on the left, this on the right, and this. When I look at this, because this is moved over, but we have this space here. I'm going to transform this, and it's going to translate x negative. So it's going to be in its normal spot here, right? But I'm going to transform it and shove it over here, so I can do Flexbox. So this is how we're going to do it. We got our manufacturer. We have to have a container to do this with, and inside this container. So we're going to have our picture tag here. I'm just going to grab. This is my cheat sheet. Where's my? There we go. Image source set. So, because I'm going to have a mobile version and a desktop version of this image, and I want to serve the mobile version on mobile screens and the desktop version on desktop screens. So we use a picture element. And inside this picture element, we have our sources. So up until 600 pixels, use the mobile version. And after 601, use the desktop version. And this is our fallback. So this is where you put all of your stuff. You got your ARIA hidden, you got your lazy loading, decoding, height and width, and alt, all that. This sits on here. So what's great about this is I'm going to be using WebP formats for all of my my formats, my JPEGs here. And here is I keep this JPEG, but these will be WebPs eventually when I do that. So that if you're on a browser that doesn't use WebP, Safari, it will instead load this default fallback. So this serves as your fallback. And if these conditions are met, then the source, this, is changed to load this. And that's what this picture element does. And what's cool about this thing too is the picture element is its own element. You can target it like a div. You can set heights and widths, and you can give it margins, and you can give it, most importantly, you can give it a pseudo element, which you cannot do on an image tag. Image tags cannot take pseudo elements, and that is how I'm going to make this rectangle. Because my picture element is going to be, this big, right? And then I'm going to add a pseudo element that's this big and shove it down here a little bit. But you can't do that on an image, but you can do it on a pseudo on a picture element. So that's what I'm doing here. And I think this is section 1. Actually, what is that? Where's my image? There it is, section 1. Okay, so I'm going to have section 1.mp, and that's going to be -m for mobile. I'm going to save it as a mobile version when I'm ready. And this is going to be regular. And this will stay section 1. And we're going to get rid of this lines. And we'll leave this empty. So we're hiding this. This is just decorative. Height and width, 728. 891. Alright, that's good. We got our lazy load, decoding. Okay, so our picture element is set. And now we need to do the right section here. So inside of this, we're going to have to create content. So this container is going to be a flex container, and it flexes its children. So this will be 1, and this will be 2. I have to put this in a group inside of a div because I want the group to be positioned as a whole and not the individual, H and P's and A's. Like they have to be grouped so that they can move together as one. And that's why I'm putting it inside its own container, inside of the container, so that this and this can be placed around each other. And that's the logic behind that. So we got our H2, our big one here. Every section is going to start with an H2. And if you don't have one, then you're not using a section tag. So it starts in H2 and it goes down from there. We don't have anything else, so we just have our P's. 1, and 2. And then we got our A.button solid. And that's, what is that? Read more. We'll decide what all these are going to be later. We haven't done copywriting yet. So that section's done. And now we got, let's do ideas. This is called ideas. That's about centered. Ideas. And again, it looks like I want a container. And we have an interesting layout here. So it looks like this is overlapping. This doesn't necessarily mean that this has to be position absolute. Remember, you have transforms at your disposal. So what this is telling me, the way this is positioned, excuse me, almost burped, is that this will have a margin bottom of a negative number, which will pull these up. So these might be, so this will be a container right here. This will be its own container, and this is the top of the container. And I'll either have the H2 or the container. The container could even have a margin top of negative 50 pixels or whatever this is to pull it up. That's the thing. Positive margin values push things away. Negative margin value pulls things toward it. So if we do a negative margin top on this container, it will pull the H2 toward it. So I think that's what we're going to do. These are all going to be in picture elements. I'm going to add another little guy down here. So I'm going to add, so H2 can be by itself. And then, boop. And then we take this. Okay, so that's one. And what's interesting is trying to figure out, okay, so how do we make this layout, right? I mean, you can get really complicated. You can use grid if you want, or we can organize it differently. So I'm just looking at this right now. Because I can have this one big image, this picture. This will be this one. And then I create a second div dot group, and I put the other two in here. And inside of this div, I place them as block level elements, and I push them around in their box to make this. And then I use Flexbox on the main container to put this container and this image side by side. So I'm compartmentalizing the section. I'm thinking about how Flexbox is going to be used. I'm going to be flexing this container. So if I flex this container, I have one group and two group, right? But I have three things here. So in my two group, I put these two inside of it and position them inside of this group how I want to. And then I position this group against this inside of the container. So I think this is idea 1 is what I saved it as. Idea 1, idea 1, idea 1. And this is 752 and 920. And then this one is 595 and 811. And this is idea 2. I saved all these images before I started this because no one wants to see that. And then this third one is 501. say 589, and that is idea 3. Okay, so we got those, and that's it. That's it for that section. Now we got this fun one. A little more action here. So when I'm looking at this and I'm wondering how I'm going to build this, well, let's look at the whole. Let's what's the biggest group I can make? Well, I have a top and I have a bottom. I don't want to split it this way because these have to be grouped together, right? So the way I see this working is what are we going to call this? What we do. So we're going to have a container, and then we're going to have a top section, and that top section is going to have our H2. And then what is this? It looks like this is a group 2, so we have this group, and gosh, I really think there's because I'm gonna have to. I would have to put this in a separate div so that I can push these two things away from each other. Or we can use one of the few instances where a float can be used. Floats are kind of like out of date now, but they can still serve a purpose. And I think that's what this is going to be for. So if I float this left and push this to the right, let's just see what this does. Honestly, when I get to the CSS, let's see if it hangs. That, and I think that that's going to be read more about your progress. We're going to take this, and that's going to be a special A tag with an arrow. Okay, so that's going to be our top section, right? This, and then this is going to be a bottom. So I broke it up into two meaningful chunks instead of trying to think about, oh yeah, where am I going to put all these? Well, okay, what's the most logical grouping we can make? And the most logical we can make is to put these guys side by side in their own box, and put these guys side by side in their own box. So we got our bottom section, and then we got our not card. It's not, doesn't look like a card. It doesn't have its card around it, but it's still, I'm calling it a card. So we got our image. I'm gonna grab this tag. I like to serve all of my SVGs and image tags. I think it's icon 1, and you are 69 by 69. We got hidden true. Yeah, we don't need this. Loading lazy. Let's see, alt. I don't know. SVG icon. No, we gotta be descriptive. I gotta be a good boy. Oh man. What are these things called? What is that? God, what the hell are you? I don't want to say mannequin because I don't want to have to spell it out. I'm gonna have to do it. How do I spell mannequin? I guess I'll take that. Okay, mannequin. Okay, so we got that. And then since we have an H2 up here, we have another heading. So what's the next level? We go from H2 down to H3. That's our H3, our Mipsum. Cool. And then we got our P. Just gonna take that. Boom. And then we take this card, duplicate it 3 times, change this to 4, 3, and 2. Yeah, so we get our 1, 2, and 3, and that's it for that section. See how easy these are? And then we got featured work and reviews and that. Okay, so we got 3 more. So we got 1, 2, and 3. So this is going to be featured. And again. So we have an interesting layout here. We have an H2 right here, which is appearing to break the natural order of the DOM structure. Like this seems like it's overlapping this container. And again, I think that's going to be a unique situation where I'm going to create a container again for these images, and they're actually going to sit right underneath. This container is going to sit right underneath featured work, and I'm going to do a margin top of negative whatever, and pull it up, and that'll create the illusion or make the design showing what that is. I don't have to make anything position absolute here because I don't want to do that. I try to have as many elements relatively positioned as possible rather than absolute, especially text. So I'm going to keep these in the same order in the DOM. And so we're going to have our H2 is going to sit on top. So that's going to be featured work. And then we got our image container. And we're going to serve up different size images. So I'm going to grab my picture. Okay, so we got 1. Oh boy. And I think that's port 1. There we go. And you are 613 and 919. And we're going to take this and do it 3 times. This is 2. It's just this is it. It's repetitive. Some of this job is going to be tedious, but you know we have to do this if we want to really get the details right. And this is how we should be doing all of our responsive images. We serve up mobile-sized images so we can save as much space as possible on mobile and load as fast as possible. And then we serve up the bigger ones on desktop. And so this is going to be 2, so that's 697. And 940. This sucker's going to be 504. 755. And then last but not least, this is 590. And 765. 765. I don't think we need to do ARIA hidden because, I mean, these are the focal points. So we don't want to hide it from a screen reader. And I'm going to leave the alt empty for now because these images are going to change. These are just stock images right now. But we got everything as it should be. This section is done. Did I skip? Ah, darn it, look at me. Oh, dumb. Okay. Take this and shove that in there. There we go. That's better. So we got our featured work. Let's just close that. And then we got our reviews. All right, so we have an H2, so we're going to have an H2, but we have a smorgasbord of characters here. So we got one here, and one all the way over here. So what can we do? Now, so knowing how flex works, if you have an element that you set to be with 100% of the container, then it takes up 100% of the container and is ignored by the flex rules. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a container, and I'm going to have the H2 up here. I'm going to have my P right here, and then I'm going to have dot reviews reviews. There we go. So I'm going to flexbox this on desktop, and what's going to happen is I'm going to do justify content space between, the etc. And that's going to push this over here. That's going to push this over here to this side of the container. But on reviews, I'm going to set width 100%, and it's going to take up this whole row, and it's basically just going to pop. And I have to set flex wrap. So I will tell it to wrap if it doesn't fit in a row, because naturally it's going to want to fit everybody in a row. That's why you have the flex wrap property where you set it to wrap so that it wraps around to the next line. And that's how I'm going to build that section. So let's just do get our card. Let's hurry up and get these. I'm going to grab an image tag here. Okay, so in the card, we have our image, which is quote SVG. Let's see, quote. And looks like this was text, but I saved it as an SVG, so I think I gotta take a guess here. So okay, boom, boom. You're about 27 and 20. Cool. And then we got inside this card, we have text. That seems like a lot. Let's just do 125. That should be enough. Then in here, so now we got this. So we have an element, some elements. They can all be block level, meaning they all take up their line. Nobody can sit next to them. But this one has a couple of them next to each other. So this inevitably has to be in a group. So this is going to be info, and we're going to take our image. I'm going to start up another image here. You're going to be 66. And I think this is going to be profile. And I think I'm going to do another. I think I'm going to do a float again to push it to the left. Just have these guys here. So let's just play with it and see if it works. John Doe. So I'm going to be using spans from these because they're not descriptive enough to be a header, and they're not long enough to be a P. So this is not a heading. It's not a name, and a title is not a heading. So that's going to have to be a span, and that's going to be a name, John Doe, and then we're going to do another span, got title, Yanni. I don't know, whatever. And then we're going to copy and paste this card twice. And that's it. That's it for that section. Cool. So that's how we did that. And now we have a classic here. Nice call to action at the bottom. All of my websites, if you'll notice a story, we got our, we got our landing, and then we got it's going to be services, and then about, typically, and we got our content section, portfolio, reviews, call to action, footer. So I always have reviews at the bottom with a call to action, like to call us again, because people only remember the first part of the website. So I want them to remember, hey, this is made and distributed in California, in the U.S. This is the most important thing you want to know about a manufacturer. So we have that up top, and then we have portfolio at the bottom with your reviews. So I want them to know what is unique about them and why they're special, and what, like, all the nice things people said about them, so that when they leave the website, they leave with a positive experience. Like, okay, they know what they do, and they know all the nice things that people said about them. So this is a typical order that I like to put things in. So let's get this guy going. This is going to be call to action, CTA. Okay, we don't need a container. We're just going to make the section, this whole big old thing. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a picture element really quick up here. So this is what I've been doing lately, and it's been really helping out a lot. So when you got these background images, your first instinct is to set it up as in CSS as background image and background size cover, the whole deal to add a background image. However, there's no inherent way to lazy load that without adding a library or writing a custom script. And you can't add the decoding async, and it's not as easy. So what I am doing now, I'm going to put this in here, and I load in my background images in the HTML. And I serve up a smaller one on mobile and obviously a bigger one on desktop, right? But I get to lazy load it, and I can add decoding async. So not only will it be a smaller image, but I also get to lazy load it. And otherwise this would have to load on mobile. It's a background image as part of the CSS, so it will load when the CSS loads, and it just takes up resources and time. Instead, we just add it inside the HTML. And that way, when you have to swap images, you don't have to swap them in the HTML. You don't have to go to your CSS and find where the hell it is in the CSS. You can just go to the HTML and swap it out. So I think this one is, it's called CTA. So copy, paste, cool. And then you are 1920, 596. Whoa, 1920, 596. And we're going to put our aria hidden. Because it is background. It's background image. They don't need to know anything about it. We're just going to say clothing rack. Okay, so there's that. Now, I'm going to load this. This is going to be absolutely positioned with object fit cover. You'll see what's going to happen here. And I'm going to make this this fade, this overlay. I'm going to make that with a pseudo element. So that's all done. Now we just got to have our H2. Grab that. Here's our P. Grab that, and then we got our A.button solid. Boom. And what is that? Contact us. And that's it for that. So that's done. And let's grab this. We're going to do our footer now outside. So now we're outside of the main tag. Come down here. And then get some space. Get our footer tag. Boom. Let's just do ID equals footer. And we're gonna have I'm gonna have a container wrapped around all this. Organize it. Okay. I'm gonna start with the logo. I'm gonna make it bigger than that anyway. I think we can do better. We got our image. It's gonna be logo. We're just gonna load logo black SVG for now because that's the only version I have. Text logo, and actually, no, let's just. All right, so because I need to know the height and width, so I got to put it in here so I can see what it looks like. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you. So our images, our logo black. Where are you at? There we go. So this is our black one. So I'm gonna copy and paste, rename it, and I'm gonna call it Whitey. Logo white. All right, well, this is what's great about SVGs. So where's my fill? I gotta find my fill. Let's do find. Oh, it doesn't have a fill. Neat. Okay, so now I just look stupid. So normally you could just go inside and in the fill section, you just change the color to white instead of black. But this is not like that. So let's see if I just change the fill in Adobe Illustrator. Cool. All right, so we're going to export that. Export selection. I'll go white. And I'm going to pick Neotex images and save. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what happens. I'm going to remove this one. Place image. Logo white. There we go. Cool. All right, that worked. Not that big, but I think it can. I think we can get away with. What is this? It's 251, 178. Hey, there. 250. Okay. So if I do that, make it a little bigger. I think I like that better. Put that at the top. So then this is going to be 349. Close you all. Close you all. Width is 349 by 111. There we go, and we got all our stuff there. And our next up is sitemap section. So when I'm looking at this, I see a UL, an unordered list. Great way to group content. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LIs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's copy and paste this. So we got 1. I guess I can make that a div. You can just use 2. And we only need 2 there. Facebook and Instagram. Oh, plus the title. Okay, so we're going to have, in this LI, we're going to have H2. That's going to be our sitemap. And we're going to have that here too. So H2, and that's going to be socials. And inside this, we're going to have an A tag. And it's going to be home. Let's just copy and paste this really. About us. Process. And content. Cool. And then we got Facebook, Instagram, and then we'll put all the links in there later. So yeah, I have my LI with an H2 inside of it. I'm going to style that separately and add a margin bottom to push this down. And then the A's, so the LIA is going to be styled differently. And that's just another way to use a UL. ULs are great for like structuring links and text like this. When I first started learning how to do websites, I was like, LIs, lists. When am I going to make lists? I don't make grocery lists. I don't want to make a website. No, it's open your mind a little bit. Don't get focused on the word list, and just think of it as an organizational tool. It's another way to organize your elements so that they, instead of having to use a div and all this other stuff, you can use the inherent properties that come with the lists and being in an unordered list or an order list with numbers. And you just use that to organize your content with more purpose. So over here, I'm just going to what do I want to do? I do the same. This is 18 font. And this is 18 font. It's just, So, because when I style these, I can style these too. So if I do make this a list, I can add its styles when I add these styles. So let's just do it. Except we're not going to have an H2. We're just going to have, and I think this is a fake address, so let's just make 1, 2, 3 more fake. And I think this is another fake number. So let's just grab this. That one, because they're moving into a new facility, so I'm just going to do this for now. Once I get their phone number and email. And that should be good. That should be good. And then my design credit. I think it's over here. Oh, we got all rights reserved down there. Don't have my design credit. So footer, container, and I'm going to add credit. Bottom. And it's just going to be a link. No, it's going to be span. It's going to be and encoded by Oak Harbor Web Designs. And we're going to grab my link. And I'm going to do target equals link. Oops. And I know Google's going to give me shit about this, so rel equals no opener. I don't know what this is or what it does, but it's what makes Google happy so that I don't get any flags in my Lighthouse or page speed scores. That's going to open up in a new tab. And that's where we're going to have this. Let's add a link. All right, it's reserved. Cool. And that's the home page. That's it. That wasn't so bad. And what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to do the CSS. And the way I like to do it is nowadays is I start one section at a time. I start on mobile, and then I go all the way to desktop on that section. And then I move on to the next section, mobile to desktop, until we go down the line. So I think this should go by pretty fast. We'll see. This will be the most fun put together. So with that is the HTML. That is the planning. I tried talking everything out so that you can kind of like hear my thought process when I'm looking at these designs. You have to look at them as code blocks, and I look at them as like Flex containers. Okay, how am I going to do this as Flex? Well, we got big thing here, side thing here. We're going to do, this is going to be the div, this will be by itself, and then just justify content space between, shove them to the other side of the container. So it's just knowing how to use Flexbox and getting really comfortable with positioning, breaking up your sections into more bite-sized chunks so that you can position things around each other. It's all up to you. There is no predetermined path that you have to take. It's just thinking logically. What is the simplest and easiest way to organize this content in your HTML while using as few divs as possible? See, that's the puzzle. That's the trick. That's the game that we play when we're trying to code a design. So that's just how I think through this kind of stuff, and I hope watching me go through it can help you kind of form your own process by which you look at a website. So in the next video, it's going to be our CSS video, and that's where we're going to do some fun things where I'm going to show you how to download fonts so that you can host them locally, because that's the next thing I have to do. And then I'm going to create all of the mobile versions of my images, and I'm going to show you how to decide how big to make them. I'm going to show you how I compress them, and I'm going to show you how I convert them to WebPs. This should all be part of your process when you work. So I do all my HTML, and then I do all of that next. I get my images together, I get my fonts together, and then I start doing my CSS. So we'll go over that in the next video, and that one should be a real riot. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in CSS.